What's up, y'all? I'm Frank from Morals Over Money. We down here doing haircuts in Kensington for the homeless and less fortunate. Got the brother Top Dog who sponsors the videos.
What's up, y'all? I appreciate everybody who's already reached out. It's at Top Dog Law on Instagram or www.topdoglaw.com. Tell me about your case, whether that's a car accident, slip and fall, medical malpractice, something else. I'll here to help. We'll get back to you within 24 hours.
Absolutely. Get with the brother if you're trying to get paid.
I'm Frank. Welcome back to the channel. It's a beautiful day out here in between my my appointments for the day, so I figured I'd hop on here, give y'all a quick story, right? So I seen a lot of people that they must be newer to the channel, newer subscribers, right? And they were asking about my history with drugs and alcohol. So I figured I'd give y'all a quick rundown and let you know what my history is. I grew up with addicts as parents. Both my mother and my father were addicts. My father was addicted to heroin and cocaine. My mother was mostly heroin. My mom was addicted to dope for 18 years. My father still sort of getting high. He now instead of dope, he's addicted to pills. My father's in a wheelchair from being shot. My father was shot numerous times. So he's like partially paralyzed from being in the streets, all that type of stuff. So he's in constant pain. You know what I mean? He's being from being in a wheelchair. He's in constant pain. You know what I mean? His legs are swelled up bad. When he originally had got shot in the early 80s, he was paralyzed for a few years. So, that's sort of a little background on him. My drug use I started smoking weed when I was a kid, just to fit in with other kids and with my group of friends. Started smoking weed. I enjoyed it a little bit, but it really wasn't for me. So I had stopped smoking probably when I was, when I was about 15 maybe. Mind you, I had started around 12 years old probably. I had stopped smoking about 15. It just wasn't really for me. It made me lazy, and I always felt like I wanted to be on point. I wanted to know everything that was going on around me. I was one of those type of people. So that and weed just didn't go together. I would socially drink, though. I drink on the weekends. I drink during the weekdays to hang out, to socialize, even before I was old enough to drink, right? I went to the penitentiary when I was 15. Throughout the course of my life, spent over 17 years in the penitentiary. If you want me to get into specifics, let me know in the comments and I can get into specifics on that. But I had originally, I'd say the first time as an adult that I had took drugs. So back in 2003, 2004, I was, no, you're good, brother. In, let me see, 2003, 2004, I had originally tried coke twice, and that was during my street days, during my hustling days, getting money. That's how that basically went, that was, so back in the early 2000s, I would say 2003, 2004, I tried coke twice. Wasn't for me either. That was basically look, at the time I was hustling, I was getting money. I had went to a new Connect, bought a large amount of coke, and I wanted to see, I wanted to make sure it was real. So I took a little bit, put it on my gums, got the feeling, right? I got that freeze, what we call it, the freeze, where your mouth turns numb. But there's other stuff they could put in coke to make it feel like that. So I took a hit, boom, took a quick pass, sniffed a little bump, and it was definitely coke. I remember my fucking throat was swelling up. I looked at it and I should have known it was coke, but I just wanted to be safe. I was spending $10,000-$15,000. You know, I didn't want to get ripped off, so I tried it and I hated it. It just made me so hyper, and that's, anybody that knows me knows I can't stand to be hyper. That shit made me so hyper. Mind you, then I had to drive in my car. This was in New York City, and I was driving, and I remember driving, and I was like, there's no way in hell. I thought I was suffocating because it felt like my fucking throat was so swollen. So then throughout the course of the day, I did it another time. Then I did it another time, you know, and ended up doing it probably like 3 or 4 times. When I say coke, though, when I say how many times I use coke, I only classify it as twice, because it was sort of, for me, it was all in the same day. So, you know, but the thing that ended up happening later on that night, I had a jacket, and the jacket had $10,000 in it. It was a nice leather jacket. I had $10,000 in my pocket, right? I had just came back from New York, busted a move with a little portion of the coke that I had brought, made a quick $10,000, had the $10,000 in my coat, ended up losing my coat with the $10,000 in it, right? Thank God I ain't have the rest of the brick in there inside the coat, because then I would have really been assed out. So I had the rest of the coat, you know, to make up the money, but it was still a hurt piece, losing $10,000 in cash. That was a hurt piece, believe that. So then probably about 2 months later, I'm lying. It was about 2 weeks later, because I remember it was dealing with the same person. So about 2 weeks later, I went to go re-up on some more coke. This time spent even more money buying coke. So I was spending almost $40,000 to get the coke. I did the same thing. Took a freeze on my gums, and then took a snort, and I seen it was real coke. Same experience. I remember driving home, and I was like speeding. Where I just didn't like it. I was like, oh man, this shit ain't for me. I was smoking cigarettes. I was, you know, drinking soda. It just felt like shit. Something bad happened that night too, you know. Didn't lose a lot of money, but something else happened that night. Almost ended up getting killed that night. So that's my experiences. I started, then I had stopped, never used coke again. And I had, anytime I would go and buy large amounts or buy any type of drugs of coke, I would take somebody with me to try it. Because I just realized, I was like, nah, it's not for me. I don't like it, right? So back in 2003, 2004, right around that same time period, I had a kidney surgery, right? And I've had a whole bunch of these kidney surgeries, but this was like probably like my first or second kidney surgery that I've had. They prescribed me Percocets. So I remember being in pain, and I took one. I did not like it at all. It made me feel like shit. I remember I was eating a grilled cheese, and I guess I must have nodded off or fell asleep. And I woke up and I had the grilled cheese in my mouth, and it was just, I remember I was like, damn, I'm lucky I didn't choke on that thing. But I didn't like the way it made me feel. It just made me feel out of it. So I was like, not again. So I would get my prescriptions. Every month I'd get prescriptions of Percocets, and I just put them in my medicine cabinet. I wouldn't touch them though, and there was literally only one out of the bottle. And there was, you know, later on when I had started getting high, I came back and still had those Percocets, where there was probably like 7 or 8 bottles of Percs, you know. When I had first tried, well, I'll get to now, when I first started taking Percocets to get high. It was, all right, so January 2nd, 2004, my mother was killed. Later on that day, I have to go to the morgue to identify her body. You know, the coroner called us and said, look, you got to come identify your mom's body. I go to the morgue, identify her body. What I seen on that table stood burned inside my head. When I tell you it stood burned, I could still see the same image. I could replay, like telling you exactly how many steps it took for me to get from here to there. Good, brother. It's literally burned and ingrained in my memory and in my head. So I identified her on the 2nd. That night, I tried to go to sleep. I couldn't go to sleep. The next night, tried to go to sleep, couldn't go to sleep. Every time I would lay down, that's all I would see. So a family friend of mine came and was like, look, you're experiencing grief and loss. You know, a lot of people, when they're feeling like this, they take something to calm their nerves. And said, look, it's no big thing if you take something. So I had wanted to sleep so bad now. I took something, whatever it was, put me to sleep. Then I remembered I had those Percocets in the medicine cabinet. Started taking the Percocets just to go to sleep. I'd take half of one to go to sleep, right? Then I'd take a whole one to go to sleep. Then I'd take two. Then I'd take them to wake up. Then I'd take them because it was raining, because it was sunny, because a motherfucker cut me off in traffic, because I was happy, because I was sad, because I was bored, because I was too busy. I started taking them bitches for everything. And then I quickly ran out of the prescriptions that I had, and I had to go get them other ways. At this time, though, I was in the streets. I had full-fledged, hop back in the streets selling drugs. So I had access to, you know, I was making a lot of money at this time. I had access to thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. So the first time I tried heroin, I had stopped taking the pills. About 4 days later, I felt like shit. I was going with somebody to pick up some drugs, and I was describing to them what I felt. And they said, look, you're dope sick. I remember I was like, I got offended. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm dope sick. So they said, look, if you sniff a bag of dope, it'll take all that you're feeling away. It'll make you feel better. It was a female. I remember I wanted to slap her and kick her out of the car. And we was in a whole different state. You know, she was my driver when I would go pick up drugs. So we was in a whole different state. That's how offended I was. So we drove back home later on that night. I'm trying to go to sleep. I feel like shit, but I didn't want to take Percocets no more because I had realized that, not that they had necessarily become a problem, but they were running my life, right? That I wouldn't do nothing without taking them. I didn't like that. I sniffed a bag of dope that night. I remember that I had some dope. You know, at this time, like I said, I was selling a lot of drugs. So I remember I had got some bundles that weren't that good, right? People were complaining about them. So I took them off the streets and had them like in my safe sitting for a while. So I remember I said, all right, well, if I'm going to try it, I'll try that one. That's what I did. And take it easy, brother. Be safe, all right? And that's what I did. And it instantly took away everything I was feeling and made me feel like I was walking on a huge cloud. Made me feel better than I had ever felt before. And I knew I was in trouble. I knew I was in trouble. Anybody that's taken dope for the first time knows exactly what I mean. Yeah. So, listen, if y'all want to hear different stories like that, let me know. I thank you guys. Have a great day. Remember to be kind, loving, and patient, because at some time in our life, somebody was kind, loving, and patient with us. Have a great day, y'all.